Good morning, afternoon, evening, and night, ladies, gentlemen, and Yoshis alike, and welcome to the very first episode of a brand new series. It's not Bluey Babbles. I said that Bluey Babbles was going to have its own channel, but I haven't got around to making it yet. It's experiencing a slight bit of delay, which is honestly par for the course for my channel. But today I just plan on talking about what I want out of 2021 in terms of video games. I'm only gonna be talking about Nintendo related stuff, since that's the company that I'm most used to when it comes to video games. And I'm doing this because it's my birthday, and I figured since birthday wishes, if you say your birthday wishes aloud, maybe they won't come true. They won't come true, but a man can dream, and it's my birthday. Hopefully birthday privileges come through for 2021, but it doesn't have to be exclusive to 2021. These wishes can come true 2022, 2023. I just want them to come true, man. But before I get started, I just want to let you guys know that now I have a Discord. It's not a very big Discord, and I plan to keep it that way. I just want to have a couple of people show up, or maybe just restricted to close friends of mine if things get a bit too chaotic. But I'm just letting you know that now I have a Discord. You can chat about pretty much whatever you want on there. And when I'm on Discord, I usually play video games and DM my friend. I want you guys to join as well. That way I can talk to you guys whilst I'm playing the video games that I'm streaming using the Discord function. Using the streaming function on Discord. I want you guys to come through and watch the games that I'm playing and make fun of me for playing pretty much like a complete dog poop. And yeah, let's get back to the video. At the topic at hand. The very first thing that I want to talk about, and these aren't in any particular order by the way, but the very first thing I want to talk about for the wish list is a sequel to Super Mario Odyssey, or Super Mario Galaxy 3. Even though we haven't received word of either of the two games, it should be pretty obvious that Super Mario Odyssey 2 has much more likely chance of being announced and released, since Super Mario Odyssey was released fairly recently, and by recently I mean 3 years ago, on the Nintendo Switch, and it has received mostly positive reviews and large sales since its release. I feel as though it would be a much better business move to make a sequel to one of Nintendo's biggest modern games, and honestly, I'd be all for it, since Super Mario Odyssey has to be one of my favorite, if not my favorite video game of all time. It just did so much, so incredibly right, and so little wrong, to the point where the game feels like the closest thing to a perfect video game for me. And that's not something I've ever said about any video game ever, even the Super Mario Galaxy games, both 1 and 2. But even though I like Super Mario Odyssey more, and a sequel would definitely be unbelievably hype, I would be lying if I said that I wouldn't mind, or I'm practically begging for Super Mario Galaxy 3, because the Galaxy games are part of my early childhood. Back in 2010 and 2011, I loved both games, especially 2, because it just expanded on the sequel, it just expanded on the predecessor so much, and the Super Mario Galaxy was already perfect, but Super Mario Galaxy 2 was just absolutely fantastic. Blows the first game out of the water, even though I played the second game first and the first game second, which is kinda ironic. Regardless, it's been a whole 10 years since the Super Mario Galaxy 2 for the Nintendo Wii was released, and I sure as hell don't want to count on an 11-year break. I feel like now would be a good time more than any to announce, hey, for Nintendo to announce, hey guys, Super Mario Galaxy 3 is in development, so you can expect that to come in like 2022 or 23 or something like that. I feel like that alone would just send me over the roof. And if they could just do what they did for Breath of the Wild 2 and show a snippet of what the game has in store for the people, and that would be much better than just Mario Galaxy 3 is in development, but that would still be incredibly hype. The bottom line is, I love Super Mario Odyssey, and I love the Super Mario Galaxy games. I hope their series go even further, or Nintendo plans on continuing the series. I don't know about Super Mario Odyssey. I think it's just going to be like a one and done deal. I mean, the chance of a sequel happening is pretty likely given all the attention it's been getting, but I don't know. I just want the series, all the Galaxy or Odyssey games to continue. I want them to go even further. And the 35th anniversary for Mario is almost finished. I feel like at the end, in like March 31, when Galaxy and Super Mario 35 are being discontinued, they could like show a trailer with either Super Mario Odyssey 2 or Super Mario Galaxy 3. I don't know. All I know is I just want these games to go even further beyond. The second thing on my list of birthday wishes is, wait for it, another new Super Mario Bros. Game. Now, before you go all up in arms saying, Chris, we have enough new Super Mario Bros. Games already. They're basically all the same, except for New Super Luigi U, and that game didn't even sell well. And New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe is basically just a copy-pasted version of a copy-pasted series. Do you really want another game that's just basically the same game as the last four games in the series? 4 or 5? Depending on how much influence it takes from New Super Luigi U. And I'm like, yeah, I get that, but this was the very first video game series that I've ever played. A lot of nostalgia is a huge factor into why I want a new Super Mario Bros. Game. Even though the formula has gotten a bit stale over time, actually very stale, I still wouldn't mind playing a new Super Mario Bros. Game on the Nintendo Switch that looks and feels like the other 4 games in the series, or 5, again depending on how much they take from New Super Luigi U. But with New Super Mario Bros. For the Nintendo Switch or Pro or whatever, there could be a chance that Nintendo deviate from the NSMB series traditions in order to make a platformer that still feels largely NSMB, but with a lot of changes so that it doesn't feel like a copy and pasted version of the other 4 games in the series. Maybe 5, depending on the NSLU influence, which honestly wouldn't be too bad considering how much it deviated from the series and how much it benefited from that. Just take a look at how much the developers of newer Super Mario Bros. Wii and DS deviated from the status quo of NSMB, while still keeping the elements that made the video game series so great to begin with. That's the kind of inspiration I want Nintendo to be influenced by when making the new NSMB game. But if the game ends up being just as bland and boring as its predecessors, then I can at least say that my earliest and most nostalgic video game series is still alive and kicking despite all the criticisms. After all, it has been 7 years, if you're not counting NSMB U Deluxe, since the last NSMB game, which I don't count NSMB U Deluxe. I just feel as though the wait is over. If the series isn't dead yet, which it most likely is, but whatever, now is its time to shine. Much to everyone else's dismay except me. Speaking of sequels and continuing series, Next up on my list, I have the sequel to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and honestly, I have a lot less to say about it compared to the other two wishes I already talked about. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is a game that I've been playing a lot recently. It's a super fun game. It can get frustrating at points, but the game has a lot of pros to circumvent the cons, no matter how large or prominent. I feel like there aren't many games that make me feel the spirit and freedom of adventuring quite like Breath of the Wild. So if there's a sequel to the game that captures the same feeling, then I will wholeheartedly support it. Unfortunately, there hasn't been much info regarding the development of Breath of the Wild 2, but from what I've seen, it looks just as promising as the first game, featuring a darker story, and hopefully Zelda's more involved in the story as well. All I want from the sequel is a better narrative experience, but much like the original, it can capture the sense of being an adventurer, going on a thrilling and dangerous journey. That alone would make the sequel worth it, in my opinion at least. I mean, either that or they could ease up on the realistic game mechanics, such as stamina, because, good lord, even though they didn't ruin the experience for me so far, they are posing a huge problem in my Breath of the Wild playthrough that I already mentioned. Follow me on Discord, by the way. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the most controversial wish I have on my entire birthday list, but instead of being the billionth person to talk about how Diamond and Pearl remakes are basically confirmed, I'd really like remakes for Pokemon X and Y, the first Pokemon games of Generation 6. Now hear me out before you threaten to beat me to death, alright? Yes, Diamond and Pearl are next in line to get remakes, and if Diamond and Pearl remakes are eventually announced, that's perfectly fine with me. I played Pokemon Platinum very recently, and I had much more fun with the game than I thought I did, so I know what to expect when it comes to the remake of Diamond and Pearl. But if I'm being honest, I feel like Pokemon X and Y deserve remakes so much more than Diamond and Pearl, and it purely comes down to the fact that Pokemon X and Y were very disappointing games compared to literally the rest of the series. Now, I like Pokemon X and Y. A lot actually. It led the Pokemon franchise into making better 3D Pokemon games, but on its own it has a solid soundtrack, good visuals, and a fantastic regional Pokédex, which in turn led to a lot of replay value out of me, because of the amount of options available for me when it came to team building in Pokemon X and Y. But the story, characters, region design, and difficulty left a lot to be desired. Overall, while I respect Pokemon X and Y, it's the game that had the least number of meaningful pros compared to the rest of the series, which leads to it being the most forgettable compared to literally every other generation starter before it, even Pokemon Red and Blue, which I still consider to be one of the worst mainline Pokemon games. This really sucks, considering what Pokemon X and Y meant for the franchise and how much nostalgia I have for the game. And to make matters worse, it's the only game in the series that does not have a sequel, remake, or remaster. Say what you will about Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, but at least it has Pokemon Platinum, which is pretty much unanimously agreed upon as one of the best mainline Pokemon games to date. While we have Pokemon X and Y over here, which is one of the worst mainline Pokemon games to date objectively, and it doesn't even get a chance to redeem itself with Pokemon Z, since the game doesn't fudging exist. As much as I would like Pokemon Diamond and Pearl to get the remake treatment, and it's also most likely, I want Pokemon X and Y to return bigger and better than ever. It opened the door to what future Pokemon games would be, so now it's time for it to lead the pack again. Now, the fifth thing on my list of things that I want to come true on my birthday wish list is not only a new Kirby game, but a new 3D Kirby game. Because 2020, I think there was some anniversary for Kirby, but because of the whole pandemic thing, a new Kirby game wasn't released aside from Kirby Fighters 2. I think it was supposed to be revealed at E3, and then it was supposed to come in like late 2020 to early 2021. But again, because of the pandemic, E3 was cancelled and the Kirby game was going to be delayed. The point is, I think there's going to be a new Kirby game in 2021. There wasn't in 2020. I have full confidence that it's going to happen in 2021 because it's been a whole year that we've spent with the pandemic, and Nintendo have started getting back into gear when it comes to developing video games. They're starting to pull out all the big entries right from the very beginning of the year. So I think it's a no-brainer that we're going to get a Kirby game this year. At least for me, I think it is. For other people, I'm not so sure. As for what I'd want the new Kirby game to be, as I said before, I'd really like it for it to be a 3D Kirby game and not the 2.5D Kirby game, Kirby 64 Crystal Shards, which in and of itself was a great video game, especially with the whole combining abilities thing into making abilities that are completely ridiculous. But I'd really like a 3D Kirby game in a similar vein to like Super Mario 64, maybe the Legend of Zelda games, before Breath of the Wild, of course, and not something like Kirby Blow Up Blast where it was only like partially 3D. All of the big mainline Nintendo franchises, Mario, Legend of Zelda, and Pokemon, have dipped their toes into 3D gaming long before Kirby did, and I feel like the wait is long enough. Kirby Star Allies is the lost of the modern era Kirby games, and the new mainline Kirby game, I think, is going to usher in a new era for Kirby games. So I want it to start off big, and I want the series itself to be bigger, and by bigger I mean 3-dimensional instead of the whole 2D platformer experience Kirby gave pretty much since it was Kirby Dream Land was first released in somewhere around the 1990s. I can imagine that transitioning Kirby from 2D to 3D is going to be extremely difficult, especially with the whole Kirby swallowing enemies and then copying their abilities. You have to program how abilities would work in 3D, such as like the sword ability and fire and ice and spark as well, among a lot of other abilities. Even fighter, especially fighter, because it was already pretty complex as far as copy abilities go in 2D. In 3D, it's just going to be completely different, but there have been some 3D Kirby games such as Kirby Battle Royale and Kirby Blowout Blast, so I feel like they aren't going to be completely inexperienced or completely new to making when it comes to making a 3D Kirby game. All I'm saying is, I think it's time for Kirby to expand his horizons. He's been doing the 2D formula for, again, pretty much since Kirby Dream Land was released on the Nintendo Game Boy. And there's nothing wrong with the 2D formula, it's only gotten better over time, and I absolutely love the modern era Kirby games, except for Planet Robobot. I don't like that game very much. And Kirby Superstar Ultra as well, which kind of transitioned Kirby from the Game Boy to Game Boy Advance era all the way to the Wii, the 3DS, the DS. But now I think it's time for Kirby to do something new with the series and make it completely fresh. Kirby has been around for like almost 30 years, so if Kirby is going to completely change how his series functions and change it into like a 3D Kirby game, 3D platformers, or maybe even a Kirby RPG or a Kirby Metroidvania, that would be pretty cool as well. Now would be the time to do it, because it would be great for Kirby to come up with a huge game for his 30th anniversary or even 29th anniversary, but it would be a bit less impactful if it was just the same game that we've seen before. The penultimate thing I'm going to be talking about on my list is Hollow Knight Silksong, the closest thing to a non-Nintendo related wish of this entire video, even though Hollow Knight is on the Nintendo Switch. Hollow Knight was a game that I got in 2019 for my Nintendo Switch when I was on holiday, and I was absolutely obsessed with the game for a while. As of last week, however, I've been playing Hollow Knight more religiously, like I did in 2019, and I've been absolutely loving almost every second of it. It's probably among my top 10 list of games that I've ever played. So with that being said, I want Silksong so gosh darn badly. I'm in love with how much faster the game is compared to Hollow Knight, or at least it looks much faster compared to Hollow Knight. And there's more of an emphasis on platforming as well. And I love platforming. My favorite game of all time involves platforming. Obviously, the main problem is that we haven't gotten used to the game in a very, very long while, unfortunately. But with the recent article involving Silksong, I think that's going to change. I wouldn't be surprised if Team Cherry uploads a trailer of Silksong and have it come out on the same day as the trailer, like Nintendo has been shadow dropping trailers off their biggest games. That would be pretty hype, not gonna lie. All I'm saying is, I really love Hollow Knight with all my heart. I've been waiting for Silksong to release for a very long time, and I'm going to keep humming and hawing until the game eventually comes out. And when it does, it's going to be so worth it. I'm calling it right now. It's going to be nominated for Best Game of 2021, 2022, or whatever year it decides to release. I just want it to release, man. I just want to play some more Hollow Knight. The final thing, or I guess I should say things on my birthday list, are the last 3 candidates for the second Fighters Pass of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. As of right now, we've gotten 3 DLC fighters, and aside from Min Min, the Fighters Pass has been going super well. Steve and Sephiroth are both fantastic additions to the game, especially Steve, since I'm now looking into maining him in Smash Bros. Ultimate, but we'll see. Yoshi is still pretty high up there. But because I'm a Smash fan, I'm legally obligated to talk about who I want to fill the slots for the second and probably final DLC pass. First of all, we have either my main man Bandana D from the Kirby series, or my main doggy Poochie from the Yoshi series. I think that both Bandana D and Poochie have a lot of potential to be really interesting fighters. Bandana D in particular will be the first fighter to ever use a spear as a main part of its moveset, but he could also use other abilities like Parasol and Beam, since other Waddle Dees and Waddle Doos have been shown to be using those abilities in combat. This kind of Bandana D actually exists in a fan-made Smash Bros. Game called Super Smash Flash 2, where Bandana D is a playable character in that game, and I absolutely love their take on the guy. To this day, I'm still maining Bandana D alongside Yoshi and Sora, and probably Kirby as well. As for Poochie, he could be the second quadruped along with Ivysaur to be a playable character in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I could see him being a rushdown type of character with a high amount of power and speed, but not that much bulk to him. He'd be pretty light, so he'd die easily, much like how Kirby and Kirby and Pichu die really early. And he could also use the pups he has from Yoshi's Woolly World and Crafted World as projectiles, much like how Olimar uses Pikmin as projectiles, but they're not going to be nearly as annoying, so you don't have to worry. Aside from that, both Poochie and Bandana D come from the Yoshi and Kirby series respectively, and both of the characters are among some of my favorite video game characters, period. And I'd really love to see more representation of their series, because the number of fighters both of them have is pretty small, which really sucks given the options available to them. But Bandana D and Poochie are among my top candidates for both of the underrated series. I'd really love to see them get into Smash as either the first and second slot. Either one of them getting in would be fine though. Next is the Vessel from Hollow Knight. The main protagonist is actually not called Hollow Knight. There already is a Hollow Knight in the game, but I'm not going to spoil it because it's strictly endgame stuff, so I'll stick to calling him the Vessel. As I said before, I absolutely adore the game Hollow Knight, and the Vessel just seems like a character that was made for a game like Smash Brothers, given the moves he has and the game he comes from. It comes from, not he. He doesn't have a gender. It doesn't have a gender. It could be a very slow character with not that much bulk to it, much like Bushi, but it would have a lot of range, a lot of power with its standard attacks, and the soul mechanic could be used as a means of self-healing, movement, recovery, and projectile usage. If by some miracle the marks and shade attacks end up being incorporated into the Vessel's moveset, that would be pretty great, and that would make the Vessel a very versatile character, despite how slow it is. And to top it all off, the Vessel brings representation to a series not seen in Smash Bros. Yet, being Hollow Knight. So fingers crossed the Vessel gets into Smash, because the potential it has as a character is phenomenal, and I'd like to see what Nintendo would do with an indie character like the Vessel, especially a very popular one at that. Finally, we have a Generation 8 Pokemon rep, because there's been a fighter for almost every Pokemon generation, and Generation 8 has some great pocket monsters in the Galar decks that would make for fantastic fighters in Smash Brothers. The starters are an easy pick, and I wouldn't mind any of them getting into Smash. Maybe Inteleon, since I don't like it very much, but I could very much eat those words if it does end up getting into Smash and it ends up playing like an absolute dreamboat. I also would very much like it if Rillaboom, Cinderace, and Inteleon end up being a part of the same package in the form of a second Pokemon trainer, since all of them are about as unique as one another, and having the option to use all three in combat would be very cool. I already loved playing as the original Pokemon trainer to begin with, so I definitely like more of that, please. There's also Toxtricity though, who, if it did get in, would be the second electric-type Pokemon to get in the game as a playable fighter that's not related to Pikachu in any way, which would be pretty great as well. And I gotta say, I do like its chances of getting in given how popular it is, which is fine by me because I absolutely love Toxtricity and I believe that it deserves all the hype it's been given. I especially like the amped up form of Toxtricity. Purple and yellow go so nice together. As a fighter though, I don't know how it would function, but I'll leave that up to Sakurai, and he can turn this Pokemon that I'm not sure how he could fight into a character that I really like playing in Smash Brothers. I mean, he's done that before with Terry, Joker, and Hero, which I have no experience with as far as characters go, yet I still play them a lot because they're fun to use. Aside from that, other Pokemon from the Galar decks that I'd really like to see in Smash are Urshifu from the Isle of Armor, Surfext, Zacian or Zamazenta, and Corviknight if that even has a shred of possibility happening. It'd also be really interesting if Calyrex made it into Smash Brothers, given the whole horse thing it has and him being a hero and all that being pretty similar to Link, but I don't know, I guess we'll see if there even is a Gen 8 Pokemon coming into Smash Brothers.